Hi everyone. So this month is November and I'll be doing the lessons based around composition and specifically pathways in paintings. And those pathways could be rivers or streams or actual paths, bushwalking tracks, hiking trails, a road. And I'm just going to talk about how they can improve our compositions and some of the techniques we can use in them and why I like painting them so much. When I was getting ready for this, cleaning up my studio because I'm so busy getting ready for this Christmas market, which is only on in 2 weeks, I'm just about tearing my hair out. So I've been very busy and I wanted to clean up before I started the lesson. And as I was doing it, I was uncovering a whole lot of paintings that are half finished. And I thought these would be a good way just to talk about the theme for the month. So over here are ones I've already shown you, but I wanted to use these to demonstrate how a pathway doesn't always have to be a path. So in this photo, I really liked the sunset. I'm just going to zoom in a bit for us so we can have a better look at that. So in this one, I liked the colours, I liked the sunrise, but I wanted to give it a better pathway. I didn't feel there was enough to take the eye through it. So here, what I've done is just exaggerate the shape of this cloud. And you can see I'm coming in on this wave, and then I'm going through the hill, hitting the bottom of the cloud, back up into this cloud, and then I'm coming up through that cloud, back down through this cloud, back down, and through the painting. So it's not a path as such, but it's a great visual pathway. It takes our eyes through the composition. So in this one, again, there's not an actual path, but you can see there are space here that looks like they could be paths. I haven't completed this painting yet, but I will complete it, and what I'm going to do is exaggerate this pathway in here and back through the river, hitting the hill, coming along the hill, back through this one, and we start the cycle again. So you can see that I've used the little river inlet here, sea inlet, and this natural break in the vegetation I'm going to use as the pathway around. So I'm going to fill in some more vegetation here. I'm going to make this more path-like, and then I'll have a better view, a walkway through the painting. So I've showed you those two paintings before. Let's have a look at another one. This one is one I did when we were talking about abstracts in class, and it's just, it was a river scene which I washed out and scrubbed out and then just started making random marks, and it's actually turned into some jellyfish in the water. This is the top of the water with the colour coming, the light coming through and darker down here. And I wanted a pathway. I started off with a couple of jellyfish here. So what I've done is make 1, 2, 3 jellyfish, and then this added in this last jellyfish up here, and that's pointing down. So you're getting this rhythmic pathway through the ocean there. I'm going to develop that one further. That's just another one of the part completed ones that are sitting around the studio at the moment. Here's another one from last Friday's class, and this is close by where I live. And it's just the inlet, and we were talking about how to show wet objects. So I was showing how to get a shallow water flat here. And so in this one, the pathway is actually the inlet from the sea, and we can see it follows around like so, hits that dark, a lot of trees there, follows the top of the mountain back into this other dark headland, back around, and we have this pathway going, circular pathway going like that. So pathways, visual pathways are quite important in a painting. I have a big collection of photos of pathways. I really like them. So up on my wall at any time, you're bound to see photos of pathways. When I was cleaning up, I found this, which is a wash I'd done at some stage. I think it was probably to demonstrate to a class how to wash with alcohol or water the pastels into the paper, and that's just been sitting around. This is when I started in class as a demonstration of how to do a nice graded sky. And I didn't continue the painting. We got on with other paintings that we were doing there. It would have used a reference image similar to this one, so we might put that up there. And when I'm working on paths, I often just have a sort of a generic pathway photo that I've taken of an area that I know, and I use that as a starting point, and I don't follow it slavishly. So what I thought I'd do for the lesson this time, since we're talking about paths, is develop this part finished painting. We've already looked at skies at other times, so I'm going to concentrate on the vegetation and the pathway itself and the shadowing on the pathway. So I'll tidy up this other area, but that's what I'm basically going to concentrate on. I'll post that one for you. So it will just sit there next to... So there are my set of One Go Gallery handmade pastels, and that's what I'll be using for this demonstration. I have sponges just lining the base of my easel there, and that's where I'm going to be putting the pastels as I work with them, so I don't forget which ones I'm using. So let's focus up on the painting. I'll just do the quick tidy up at the back first, because I'll want to move on. So I'm just tidying up the horizon. The only other box I'm going to get out are my unison lights. Let's open those up and you can have a little look. There it is. And I'm just going to use some of these very light shades in the sky there, just to make the sky a little bit more luminous. And it's pale yellows and pale pinks, a little bit of mauves, and moving up into the blues. All my other pastels are up at the studio, because I'm doing a new workshop tomorrow for absolute beginners in pastel, and so I've taken all my pastels to show them the different sorts of quality and so on that you can get in pastels. So there I've just reinstated the sky there, just smoothing off a little bit there. So I'm going to just give a bit more variety to the ocean there, just using a number of different blues and aquas. Darker here at the back, lighter as it comes forward. Trying to get that crispy horizon there. I'm not going to get too strung up on it. I'm just going to rub my finger along it to blur it off a little bit of that there. And as I come really forward, it's going to go a little bit more green. And some blues mixed in with the greens. I'm going to put a little bit of soft mauve there for the water's edge, where the sand gets a bit mauvey. And that's giving a nice blend out with my finger, blending it into the warmer colours of the dry sand. And I'll be putting some waves on there, so again I'm not looking for a white, I'm looking for something that's a bit off-white, but tending more to the greeny blues than the pinks. Let's try this one. And that's just the water coming in. Underneath it, I'm putting in a little shadow line under some of those. Just making a little bit of shadow. So that will be the waves coming in, adding in a little bit of green to some of that, little variations in that white colour. And I'm using here the sharper edge of my stick to get that. I've got the water coming in there and the beach. So now what I'm going to do is concentrate on the pathway and the vegetation either side. The vegetation can be whatever you want it to be, whatever's local to your area. For me, I'm going to start off with some reds in there, some sienna-y kind of reds as an underpainting, just to give a little bit of... I'm going to mix that up with a whole lot of other reds as well, and some deeper purples are going to go in this area here. There's some grasses are going to come out, and you can see no detail at all at the moment. I don't want it to be so overcast here. I'm putting some bits of darkness, and the shadows are going to be coming this way, so all this will be darker than this here. This will be more in the sunshine, so a little bit of a darker underpainting there. You can see that because I'm using the pathway as a device, it's not coming, the edges of the pathway won't be coming out of the corner, but they will be curving around and taking me up to the waves, and then we'll go back through here and I'll do something with some clouds in the sky eventually to make some more movement. The pathway itself is just going to consist of sand going across, and I'm just going to use a number of different lights to do that in a nice draggy kind of horizontal manner, just picking up a number of lights in pinks and some yellows, so some warms and some cool. These will run into the sand as well back here, so some of the sand colours, and some of them may well run into the edges there and start to help create the shadows where I drag the back onto the pathway, and they're containing colours from this underpainting I'm putting in. I'll be refining that, but it does help me already start to establish a shaded side of the pathway. I can add in some cooler colours as well, some sort of touches of greeny blues in there, which will just contrast with the warms of the path. I can throw in more sun yellows on this side, so you can see there's still a very pale colour, and if I hold it up closely there, you would think it's white, but it's not. It's a yellow colour, and it gives the illusion of sunlight over on this side of the path. And where I'm dragging it across the wet sand there, it helps to emphasise the wetness and a little bit of sunshine there. So already I've got a path that has a bit of interest in it. I can build up some of these shadows here, but what I'm going to do is build up a bit more colour in here first. And I'm just taking the flat side of the pastel and dragging it down in random jabby kind of marks to make some vegetation. Some of it can go in here as well. The back of these grasses are going to be a bit in shadow, so they are getting the darker treatment. And then up here I'm going to start adding in some more reds, so some real reds, not just the sienna-y ones. These are sort of some fuchsia reds to get some colour in amongst the green. I'll add a bit of it over here as well. Side of the pastel, just adding it in. I'm pulling it out into the sand there because I'm going to make some little bits of vegetation creeping out into the sand, and they will come in with some darker colours. So I'm just popping in some little sharp edged pieces that are little roots and things coming out of the pathway, the vegetation next to the path, and helping to define the edge of the path. And that will be from both sides. Over in the dark shadowed side, they are going to be darker kind of roots coming out, going back into the vegetation there. And there'll be some little sticky bits coming up like this. So I'm just making a few marks now so that I can build the rest of the vegetation around those marks, although they could go in after as well. What I want to do is continue on the pathway now, because I don't want to have to try and go back in with the lights in amongst all those darks. So I'm just building the pathway up, adding in a few more bits of shadow coming in from that side. And I'm going to put in some deeper shadow colours now. So the shadows will be darker, closer to the vegetation, and as they come out they'll be lighter. So I'm putting all that dark in, and then I'm adding some of that back into the vegetation there. So using my shadow colours into the vegetation to help create a bit of unity there. I'm going to add a little bit of that back here as well, and in some of the spots here, because some of these are in shadows too, but mostly at the back side of it. There'll be a little bit of sunshine on that side. So you can see I'm just layering up the different colours on there now. It doesn't look like vegetation yet, but it will eventually. In this pathway picture I have a tree coming into it through there, and I can make that tree if I want to. I've put the sky in, so it's going to be hard to get dark over it. You just need to choose a colour or colours that are darker than your end result. I'm going to keep working on this now, and all I'm going to do now is start layering in even more colours. So I'll take a bit of a shocking pink, going in with that. Sort of fuchsia colour, and then I want to try a lighter version of that for the more sunlit side. So the back of it's a bit more sunlit. There will be greens going over this, but this is just to get the really warm underpainting going. I'm going to put in some orangey colours as well. And a few more deep reds. Some of those reds are starting to extend out a little bit into over where the roots are. And now I'm jabbing those on in a little jabby motion there. A little bit of this deeper, darker red over here. Very randomly it's going on, really randomly. I'm pulling this deeper colour out over the roots as well, in the shadowed area. I'm going to put in some darker purples there as well. If I want to curve the path more, I can just add more vegetation over here. So here's a close-up, and you can see how red that vegetation is. I'm going to start putting in some other colours soon. Right now, I want to curve the path a bit, so we can keep changing the course of the path. And here I'm just adding some taller bits in. I can also bring grasses over here, which is what I'm going to do too. So I've shaped the path a bit more now. I want to narrow it down a bit here, so I'm actually going to bring this part out as well. Sometimes with the path, as it curves, you lose parts of it because it gets overshadowed by other bits of vegetation, and that's what I want to create here. So I'm just making some of that go in there and putting in some little bits of those root systems that are going across there. Then I'm going to look for a deeper purple and keep it. Just making the pathway a little bit deeper and shadowier there, and building it up through this area as well. And you can see it becomes difficult to tell where the shrubbery ends and the shadows begin. But as we move out from there, the shadows will become a little bit lighter. So I'm just putting various shades of purpley blues in there now. And from over here we might have a big shadow from off there where we can't see it, and that'll help create a block for the eye going out of the bottom of the page there. So I'm just making that a little bit darker, and maybe I'll continue over that way. And within those shadows you want some colour that's coming off the vegetation, and you can see there's some reddy sort of colours in there. So I'm just adding in some little spots of red, just a little bit of reflection off the vegetation, and you want some blues from the sky. So I'll add in a little bit of blues as well, just a bit of reflected sky colour as well, so that the shadows have a little bit of interest in them. So we're starting to get some shadows going across to help form the path. Now I've noticed here that I've got my shadows wrong. They're going up like that. I want them to come down into a dippy curve because the path is curved. So I'm actually going to sculpt the path a bit more by using the shadows. So and then they go up. And that just helps to make the path now look a little bit more like it's worn a bit in the middle. Going back in again with some other neutrally colours there, and then I'm going to add the sunlight back in. I've let some of the reds come into the shadows too. Now I'm looking for that sunlight colour I had, because I forgot to put that on the bench here. This was a bit of sunlight, and you can see how strongly it contrasts with those shadows. So I'm pulling that across into some of the shadowed areas as well, just like you would with sky holes. I'm pulling a bit of it up onto the beach. And you can just work those shadows back and forth until you're happy with them. I'm just going to add a little bit more in here. So now I have shadows on the path. I've got the underpainting here, and I'm going to go back in now with a whole lot of other colours to suggest a bit of, looks that's making a rattling noise. Let's just move that across a bit so it doesn't rattle so much for you. Don't do that though. So now I've just taken an olivey green, so not a bright green because it doesn't tend to be bright going down by the beach, that in over the top of the reds. Just in a jabby motion, my usual jabby sort of motion. I'm going to be letting quite a lot of those reds show through. But I'm building up now layers of more natural beachy colours. When I get down to these bits that are going out here, I'm just jabbing it on. I will be coming back and putting highlights on those. Right now it's just getting in some of the little leaves, and then I'll be coming back and putting the sunshine on them. Some of that's going in here too over this side, but this is all much more muted, so it's not going to have as many highlights. And by scrumbling it over the darker colours, you modify that green anyway, so some of it up here might be coming out into a bit of sunshine, and I'll add some lighter bits up there on this side of it as we go. But right now it's just getting the basic forms of some greens, and I'll be varying those greens up as well. So, and by dragging it, as I am on this side as well, over the lighter, brighter ones, my green looks brighter, even though it's exactly the same green I've used on both. I do want to have some brighter greens there too, and lighter greens. So I'm actually going to go in and put some different greens in amongst here. You can see they're much brighter, entirely different green on these little succulent roots that are coming in there. I'm jabbing a few bits of that up into the general vegetation there as well. I would like some bits of sunshine on there, so I'm going to take some yellow lemony colour and add some of those little drops in as well. You can see it starts to come alive as I jab these little dots of sunshine in. I've got a lot more work to do. I've got a brand new box of Art Spectrum Darks. It's just a little 6-pack collection. They're blues and violets. So I'm going to open those up and use some of those in this as well. They're an Australian brand, so they're quite good for Australian scenes. They're a much harder pastel than what I usually would be using. So I'm actually scrumbling in now some bits of darker bluey colours as well around here over the reds in this shadowed area. So I'm not just sticking with greens, putting blues in as well. And I'm doing a little bit of drawing into this as well, with a violet colour as well, just to give some extra bit of texture there, so there'll be some starting to build things up. I'm going to pop that in there as well. And I can use that deeper purple to draw out some little lines here as well, because it's quite sharp. and they again help to find the shape of the path and how it's going. Keep plodding away here. I'm going to be putting in some yellows now, but not yellows. These are more ochre-y kind of colours, very natural sort of vegetation colours that we would see on vegetation near our beaches. I'm adding those in over the reds again, a little bit on this side. And drag a little bit of it down in here. I need to tie in these brighter areas with the more natural colours. So I'm starting to pop in a bit of those greens as well, the yellows with those greens. Some of those, that will go back into these grasses as well. Just building up some texture and some interest in that area. I'll put in a few more greens as well. And again, these are not bright greens, they're more subdued kind of greens. And I'm adding some of those in as darker bits in there. In these little bits that are running into the pathway. I'm not going to be doing any more grasses for a while. I'll put a little bit of the darker green over here as well. Because I'm putting it in over the purple in the shadowed areas, it's not showing up as bright as it is on this sunlit side. And then adding a little bit in as we go there. And snap this one. I don't feel that I've got enough definition between the sunlit side and the more shadowed side, so I'm going to start putting in more sunny colours. So I'll be putting in some oranges, just jabbing it on. There'll be a few of them over here, but not nearly as many. So just a little few there, but quite a lot on this side. And I'm brightening it all up now. With some bits of sunshine. And now I'm going to try and localise some of this the colour, because it's been very generalised up to now, but now I'm going to make some individual areas that have more of one colour than other areas. So this is my yellow flowers going in, just a couple of different yellows jabbed on in localised areas. Darker over this side. And it's starting to come to life there. With the oranges, I'll be going in with some darker oranges. Building up the colours, so it's a really lovely, colourful, vibrant sort of scene there. I want to put in some whiter kind of flowers amongst all this, so just a few of them. So now let's make them slightly different. So I'm making them a little bit larger. Just a few of them. So this is more of a shrubby bush, taking up a larger area here. I'm not sure how I like that, but that's okay because I can go back in. What I'm going to do back here is put in some like that. I'm going to put in a bit more of the greens there. Work that out a bit. That didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. It isn't pastel grand. I can go back in there and change that, pull around a bit. That's better. So what I might do now is put something in there, but maybe not what I had before. Maybe I'll go for more of a shrub with some reddy bits on it. So it's not flowers on this, it's just the tips of the leaves. So it will need some more darker colours in there, and I really need to go back into the greens and find some darker kind of greens to go in there. Almost need to put a bit of a fixative on that area to sort it out. But what I am going to do is put a deeper, darker blue in there to help with that. Don't really feel I've got enough blues going on in this shrubbery, so now I'm putting in a few blues. In amongst and I think I'll pull that out a little bit here. And sort of using the grasses to connect one side of the path a bit to the other. quite dark back there. It needs some more lighter colours, lighter greens on there. So I'm just looking for a lighter green that looks quite natural. It's going to be this one. So I'm just putting some lighter green on there. Adding a little bit over this side. Just a smattering. I don't like all that magenta there, so what I need to do is green it up a little bit. So I'm just putting in some green over it. It wasn't underpainting after all, not the final painting. So I've greened it off a little bit. Now I want to put in some dots of real red on that. And I'm going to moderate that with some little bits of orange as well. They're going on the other side, but again, because they're in the shadow area, they're not as bright. So I've got that in. Now I need to put in a more orangey red. All the time I'm doing this, I'm thinking about the colours that I'm putting next to each other. This has got a little bit wrong there. It's too purpley colour. I'm going to turn that back into bushes, shrubs, and they're going to be bits of green shrubs over the path there, which I like better. Perhaps there's too much colour over here and it's got a little bit out of hand, but that's okay. I can just add in some more greens, especially up here on the horizon. So just moderate some of those with a bit more green. In a scrumbling kind of motion over there. You don't have to make the shadow, the clouds that pronounced if you don't want to. I could get rid of some of it there, so it's not taking at me straight out the corner, so I'll just blend that off a bit. And I might add a little bit more pinky colour into the sky. I like my skies a little bit colourful. Running my finger along there again. So I've added a bit of warm pink into the sky, and I'm adding a little bit of that into the clouds as well to keep the colour going through there. There's some of that in the sand, so just try and keep a little bit of harmony going. So the pinks are in the sand, and that sunshine yellow is in the sand. I will now need to put a few more little dabs of shadows under the wavy bits here. So I'm just going in with a bit of a darker colour underneath, running some darker lines through the water to give the sense of some little waves out there. Just using the sharp edges. And again, I don't really want the eye to be wandering out of the painting, So I'm making these less colourful, greying them off a little bit so that the eye focuses more. In the middle of my painting. Just adding in those little marks that will give a little hint of shadow underneath the waves there. I can finalise it by putting in some more little sticky bits coming up out of the shrubbery. And they're catching some of the colour underneath, which is a good thing. You can see how these sticks are pointing that way, so we're coming up a little bit of a point that way, but then we're going back out that way, back up into the clouds. In with some more grasses. And I want some lighter coloured grasses over here, so I'm just pulling up something quite light, just to go over for a bit of sunshine. Oh dear, butterfingers on the tops of some of those grasses. This one needs a little bit more light. A little bit cooler light on the top of there. Might add a few little touches of that. And then to stop the eye sliding out, even add a little bit more of a touch there of stopping the eye sliding out. That's where I would sign it off. And what colour would I sign it off in? It's already a deep purple down there, so I'm going to use a yellow colour. This is a problem because I've left all my hard pastels. So I don't think I'll sign it off right now, but when I do sign it, maybe this will work. This one perhaps. Just in the corner. So I've signed it off there, and I'm just going to add a few dots of my signing off. Pastel in, because I always like to have some of what I've signed off with in the painting, and you want to choose something from the painting. And this time I was just looking for something with a sharper edge that I could put down there. So now we've got nice lead in through the path that curves around, that has some of the path hidden here, and here leads out to the waves. The waves take you to the water's edge there, and then the clouds sweep you up into the sky a little bit. So I finally finished that painting, and I quite enjoyed it. And you can tell when you look at the original photo, it's really nothing like that original photo. The path's not the same shape, the vegetation's different, but I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was a sunny path with a nice lead in to the ocean beyond. Hope you enjoyed that demonstration of a pathway and how it can help lead you into the painting and how you can help define it with the shadows. And I'll be doing a few more things on pathways throughout the coming month. Hope you enjoyed. I'm looking forward to it. Bye for now.